really frustrated that you guys weren't able to have the counter tabling for the UNF America tour, and that really pissed me off.
And the person running it? Yeah, I'm talking about Erika, the one everybody treats like some kind of evangelical Joan of Arc. I used to work under her, and she's not who she...
I was aware of the plans. I have his journals that are aware of the plans. Like, there is no confusion of what's to come.
Erika Kirk just got caught on video showing what many people are calling her true colors, lashing out at staff and cursing behind the scenes. And for a lot of critics, this is just more evidence that the whole Christian conservative, forgiving leader image she tried so hard to build may not be as genuine as it seemed. What makes this clip even more revealing is that it was never meant to be public. This was not one of Erika's polished media appearances or carefully rehearsed interviews. According to reports, this was a private moment, secretly recorded by someone on staff while she spoke the way she apparently does when she thinks no one important is watching. And think about that for a second. The fact that an employee even felt the need to record her says a lot. People usually don't start secretly filming unless something serious has already happened or they expect things to escalate. The video was reportedly recorded during Erika's recent visit to Arizona State University, where she was seen scolding staff and saying she was frustrated and pissed off because, in her view, they had not done enough to counter-program students who opposed TUSA.
I was really frustrated that you guys weren't able to have the counter tabling for the UNF America tour, and that really pissed me off, especially because we have some really good people that could be on campus to counter program.
Now, first of all, when was the last time you heard someone use the phrase counter program in real life? Erika sounds less like a campus leader and more like someone running a covert operation. And here's the bigger question. How do you square that tone with the public image she's been selling? This is the same woman who has been presented as the model Christian conservative, calm, forgiving, and full of grace. But in this clip, that image clashes hard with the way she's speaking to her own team, because saying "you piss me off" to staff is a long way from all that public talk about faith, unity, and treating the TUSA team like family.
And my poor team is exhausted, and every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do, relive that trauma all over again?
When Erika speaks to mainstream media, the story sounds very different. She says her team has been traumatized, exhausted, and even subjected to threats. But behind closed doors, she's allegedly speaking to those same staff members with anger and contempt. So the obvious question is, if your employees are already under pressure, why would you talk to them like that? Why make the situation worse? And remember, Erika is not just some random commentator. She is the CEO of Turning Point, so people naturally expect a certain level of leadership, discipline, and composure. A leader in that position, especially one tied so heavily to Christian branding, would be expected to say something like, "We missed an opportunity here, and next time we need to be better prepared." Instead, this video appears to show her snapping at staff, saying they made her angry, and demanding they do more to shut down opposing voices on campus. And according to critics, that clip is not the only thing raising questions about Erika's leadership. A few months ago, an anonymous TUSA insider claimed that once Erika became CEO, the organization took a sharp turn away from what Charlie had originally stood for.
The person running it? Yeah, I'm talking about Erika, the one everybody treats like some kind of evangelical Joan of Arc. I used to work under her, and she's not who she pretends to be. Charlie figured that out near the end. I think that's why he's gone.
But that wasn't even the full allegation. The whistleblower also claimed that Charlie had wanted to pull Turning Point away from an increasingly hostile ideological direction that, in their view, had been hiding behind the language of Christian values. And according to that account, the moment Charlie made it clear he wanted a different path for the organization, certain people inside TUSA began working around him rather than with him.
Everyone in senior management? Mormon. It's not random. The CIA's been recruiting from that pool forever. You know why? Because they're good at compartmentalizing. They can hold two worlds in their head, faith and function, and never let the wires cross. Perfect spooks. Perfect operators. Now, with her at the top, it's all locked down, the money's flowing, Israel is satisfied. And Charlie? He's just a ghost in the machine.
But that wasn't even the full allegation. The whistleblower also claimed that Charlie had wanted to pull Turning Point away from an increasingly hostile ideological direction that, in their view, had been hiding behind the language of Christian values, and according to that account, the moment Charlie made it clear he wanted a different path for the organization, certain people inside TUSA began working around him rather than with him.
They believe, and this is why the Christian Zionism thing becomes so important, that they can hijack our emotions and tell us that it's our biblical duty to support the state of Israel, because I think the state of Israel is probably involved in what is happening at the border, in what is happening overseas. It is definitively involved in all these wars. I mean, everywhere you look, Israel pops up.
Now, going back to that whistleblower, they also claim that TUSA didn't simply drift off course after Charlie was gone. According to them, the organization was gradually taken over by people who presented themselves as Christians, claimed to care about values, and spoke the right language in public, while privately pushing an agenda that they believe is the exact opposite of what Charlie originally built.
There was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests. But he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. This stock market group that Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever.
And if you've been watching TUSA closely since Erika took over, you can see why some people are saying that. Critics argue that the people now running the organization do not actually believe the message they preach. They know the language, they know the image, and they know exactly how to perform for the audience. But underneath that polished surface, critics say, something very different is going on, and now, more former insiders are stepping forward and backing up what others have already hinted at. One former TUSA member, Joshua Peterson, claimed there was an internal group working against Charlie from within the organization. He also alleged that millions of dollars were being funneled into the stock market without Charlie's knowledge. Those are massive claims, and if true, they would raise serious questions about what was really happening behind the scenes.
Influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of, that he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets assassinated.
Joshua also claimed that Charlie had been trying to distance himself from certain foreign donors and from outside influences that, in his view, did not align with the organization's stated mission. But according to that account, not everyone was willing to go along with that shift. The more Charlie allegedly tried to regain control and clean things up internally, the more resistance he began facing from inside his own organization.
In this church, I'm listening to this TPUSA speaker go on and on about Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and how they're evil and anti-Semitic. And he basically indirectly is saying we should support Israel because Jesus was a Jew and we wouldn't have Christianity without Judaism and blah, blah, blah. I don't think Charlie Kirk would stand for that. We know as the weeks before his passing, he was starting to call out Israel and question Israel.
Peterson went even further, claiming there were ideological influences inside Turning Point that Charlie strongly opposed and wanted removed. He said Charlie attempted to restructure parts of the organization and create tighter internal oversight. Then, not long after, Charlie was assassinated. Now, to be clear, there is no public evidence in this clip proving a connection between those internal disputes and Charlie's death, but critics are pointing to these allegations as part of a much larger pattern they believe deserves scrutiny, and it's not only former staff members speaking out. A young woman recently went viral after describing her experience at a TUSA faith event, saying she left feeling deeply disturbed because, in her words, it did not feel Christian at all. According to her, the event was not centered on faith, scripture, or spiritual teaching. Instead, she said, it felt political focus more on pushing a particular agenda and attacking figures like Candace Owens than on anything biblical.
She leans on me for, investments or politics. We are given different gifting. There is a general rule, and the general rule is that women are far more gifted at people and caretaking.
Now, as you can imagine, Erika has reportedly not taken any of this lightly, according to critics and former insiders. People who speak negatively about her leadership, even in small ways, are being pushed out. Candace Owens even compared the atmosphere inside Turning Point to a kind of witch trial. She wrote that what was happening should be called the Scottsdale Witch Trials, claiming she had gathered first-hand accounts of executives pulling employees into offices and questioning their loyalty to Erika. Candace described incidents where Staff were allegedly confronted, investigated, monitored over minor comments, and in some cases even fired, sometimes face to face, sometimes at their homes, and sometimes without any clear explanation. But here's the question almost nobody wants to ask. Who chose Erika to replace Charlie as CEO of Turning Point? Candace recently pointed out that Turning Point opened AmFest 2025 with alleged audio of Charlie saying he wanted Erika to take over if anything ever happened to him. But if that's real, then why release only audio? Why not release the full video? Because audio can be manipulated far more easily than video. And that alone is why some people remain skeptical. And beyond that, critics say the claim does not line up with Charlie's own public statements. If you listen to what Charlie said for years about marriage and gender roles, he repeatedly described his role as provider and cast women primarily as caretakers within the family. He also said Erika relied on him in matters involving money and politics. So for many people, the idea that he would suddenly choose her to step into a full-scale CEO role raises obvious questions.
Wrote on everything. He has papers everywhere. This says, it's the priorities. It says family, children, legacy, kids number one, versus careerism, consumerism, and loneliness. That's interesting.
Then there was also the note Erika reportedly found in Charlie's office, a note that emphasized children and caring for family over careerism. And if that detail is accurate, it adds even more tension to the public narrative now being pushed about Charlie's supposed long-term plan for Erika to take over everything professionally.